What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scare Soldier back with another Borderlands video, and in today's video we're going to take a deep dive into firmware, what it is, why this name is so confusing, why did they choose to use the word firmware, and we're going to break it down so everybody's unconfused about what firmware is, because it is an important part to Endgame and making your builds super powerful, so it's good that we can know how to use it. So first of all, let's talk about what firmware provides, which is additional perks to your gear and rewards you for obtaining complete gear sets in Borderlands 4, all right? So basically, firmware has a chance to roll on the rep kits, ordnance, class mods, shields, and enhancements once you finally reach level 25. These firmwares can scale up to 3 tiers, right? So they have 3 bonuses, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and equipping gear with the same firmware increases the effect and can provide additional perks. So basically, if you remember like Moe's, for example, if you matched your gear with the same element, let's say cryo, you had a gun, a shield, a grenade that were all cryo element, you get more and more damage, 10% per matching element. So this is the same thing. This is like a tier system that if you have your shield, for example, class mod and an ordnance with the same firmware name, you will then unlock all of the bonuses depending on how many of the matching set you have to increase the tier. This is optional, of course, because if there's a certain bonus that you want, because let's say you, for example, have a splash build, and there's a certain firmware that gives you more bonuses for splash damage, you might max out and put 3 pieces of gear all on Airstrike, which is a firmware name, by the way. And then you'll still have 2 slots left, right? And you can get other firmware tiers, but you'll never get up to tier 3, right? You'll only ever get one firmware up to tier 3, and then the rest you'll have to mix and match, and vice versa. You don't always have to go up to tier 3, but again, if you feel like you want all the bonuses, then you will have to match up to 3 gear pieces with the same firmware name, all right? Now, next, there's also a way to transfer the firmware. So this is for grinders, right? We're farming, we want certain firmwares. How do we optimize farming? So you can transfer the firmware from one piece of gear to another using the firmware transfer machine once you complete the main story campaign. Be aware that the old gear item you are transferring the firmware from gets destroyed. And if the new piece of gear already has firmware, it gets overwritten, all right? So what this means is that to take advantage of the transfer machine, the best thing to do is that you would farm, you would go around the map, and if you find a garbage shield, for example, and it has the firmware you want, take that, pick that shield up, even though it's garbage, go to the transfer machine, transfer the firmware that you want, because that piece of gear will be destroyed anyway. So the garbage shield will be in the trash, and then you will steal that firmware and transfer it on a good piece of gear. That way, it's a win-win. Right? So that's how it works. It's a pretty cool system. There's a few firmware bonus perks. Here are the firmware names. So we have a few that we know of. We have Action Fist, Airstrike, Bullets to Spare, God Killer, Goo JFC, Jacked, Risky Boots, Rubber Band Man. Pretty cool. Obviously, there's going to be more during Endgame, especially with Ultimate Vault Hunter. You're going to be unlocking other types of firmware that are more rare, etc. But it's going to be like that. But all it is really just bonuses or bonus perks, which can add to your build, and that's it. So hope it was easy for you guys to understand. Please leave a like, subscribe, and stay tuned because we got a lot of Borderlands 4 content coming to the channel. Catch you in the next one. It's your boy Scare Soldier signing out. Peace.